We started with 4. There is still 3 that can qualify. Declan Brennan and John McAllister both have a win and a draw and sit on 3 points. Dom Cooney has a win and a loss. He sits on 2. He has to win this one to have a chance of going through, but he will need help in our final match of the night, where John will play Brian Halcrow. If Declan Brennan was to win this one, he would be guaranteed, worst weight, a 6 red shootout. A lot can still happen out there, but it is Dom Cooney with the first opportunity. There is still a chance that Dom could end up in a 6 red shootout himself. If he was to win and John was to draw, he would be in a 6 red shootout. So a lot can happen here. But Dom knows he has to win.
So I know what you're all thinking. Whatever all that meant, let's just have a 6 red shootout.
There's a chance.
Declan Brennan won't be thinking, let's have a 6 red shootout. I can promise you that. He absolutely hates him. And he's quite honest and vocal about the fact that he dreads it and he couldn't really think of anything worse. But there's a very good chance that if he is going to qualify tonight, that's how it's going to have to be.
Yeah, nothing he can do about that right now. The only thing he can try and do is win this match, and if John was to win as well, then that's what would happen, but has to win this match first. And Dom has just put himself in a world of trouble.
Yeah, well, Dom's just took the wrong ball. Dom should have been playing the other one with just trace of left-hand side and just flicking the cue ball around 2 cushions and landed dead straight on that one. Why he was taking that one, I'll never know.
So that he could play that shot.
So he could just flick that one in. He wants the highlights reel.
And he's on the 8 ball as well.
He wants his social media to grow. That's what that one is.
He got there in the end. Break clearance from Dom Cooney to start this match. Unconventional. Doesn't matter when it works.
Yeah, doesn't say how on the scoreboard, just says who, and it is 1-0. And I will say with that is, when you're sitting in your chair, like Declan is, and your opponent's doing things like that, because when he suckered himself on his last ball, Declan will be thinking, right, okay, this is going to be 1-0 to me. And that really is like a double whammy, isn't it? Like a dagger through the heart when that happens. You would rather him just landed on his last ball, because Declan obviously expected him to clear up from where them reds were. So mentally he was thinking he was 1-0 down. Then he'd mentally went to thinking he was 1-0 up, and the roller coaster of emotions. And this is obviously what you have to deal with as a pool player. You know, it's your mental strength.
Yeah, and you throw a dry break of that quality, because he hit this probably as well as any break he's hit tonight on the back of what happened in the opening frame. And yeah, he's not going to be sitting in his chair with too many positive thoughts right now.
Yeah, you're right. That was definitely the best break, I think, of the night from anybody. It was dry and easy to sit there and think, here we go again. But yeah, it's just going back to that of mentally how you deal with stuff like that happening. I get asked a lot about, it's a question of how you deal with adversity and bad luck, good luck, your opponent doing crazy things, you having bad nudges, and it's all part and parcel of the game, and it's how you deal with it. Should only cost you that one frame if it's going to cost you the frame, and if it costs you any more, that's because you let it do it. You let it affect you mentally.
Yeah, well, he may get some hope in this frame, because the opening 2 shots from Dom here in this chance have been pretty poor by his standards. Put himself in an awkward position.
Maybe twice across here to land on the red in the opposite right centre.
Well, that miss has opened everything up for Declan here.
Yeah, and the fact he had an angle to screw back and bump his bad ball out there was a bonus. Can he pop this yellow into the right corner? Just top forward, take the one into the left centre. And in taking the one to the left centre, well, now he's got an angle, he will drift up for his bad ball, and the bad ball is the one on the top cushion. But he's underdone it, but he's on the other one.
Too far. Going to be travelling on this shot.
Yeah, most shots in this frame have been a fraction too far, haven't they? Or a fraction too short. He just can't quite get that cue ball exactly where he wants it. Play this off the red, or he can top round 3 cushions. Or he can play a stun shot off 1 cushion. What a shot that is.
That is fantastic.
That is so much harder than it looks. And just when it mattered, he did get the cue ball under control.
Yeah, that was very good from Declan. Excellent last positional shot. 1-1. 13 minutes 10 left on the clock. John McAllister's watching this in the back room, and he'll be hoping for it to finish as a draw or a Dom win. And he knows it's in his control without a 6-red shootout. So Dom Cooney to break next. Hit the break terribly in his last match. Back to the front ball.
Nearly did the same again, didn't he? Come across it, not quite as much, but it was going that way. Goes left.
It was interesting, isn't it? The first break of the night, he controlled the cue ball right up the middle of the table, but he barely hit the break. And every break since, he's tried to go for a lot more power, apart from the one where he had the cut break. And you can see why, because he's losing the cue ball when he goes for the extreme power.
Yeah, these yellows are tricky, especially now he hasn't got the cue ball on the top cushion. He wanted it on the top cushion to pop the one across the back rail and stun up and develop his bad ball that's on the knuckle of that left middle. Now these yellows are tough.
Nearly missed the opening pot.
The good news for Dom is if he can just clear these 3 yellows out of the way and leave the one over the pocket until last, the 8 ball pots off the red in the centre. So he doesn't have to play a positional shot to get on the 8 ball. He just has to get to that last yellow over the pocket. Then the 8 ball's unmissable.
Left himself a poor angle again on this one at the bottom. He came back to try and get on the angle that you were talking about.
Clearing these 3. Well, clearing that one's fine, but clearing this one and then the other one isn't easy.
Huge shot, this one, for his night. Very tough.
Yeah, if he just had to pot this yellow, like if it was the 8 ball, for example, I think he would have potted it. But because he had to do something with the cue ball and top forward and try and get on this yellow in the middle of the table, made the pot twice as difficult, and that's not the nicest flick that Declan's ever had, because it's glanced the red, and that has left him in completely no man's land.
Can clip the one at the bottom in.
Could play the loss of turn and top the cue ball forward.
Plays just the out-and-out safety. He was hoping to get the snooker cue ball behind the red at the bottom. Hasn't managed that, but hasn't left an open pot on at first glance. Maybe there's a gap. Great pot in the middle. Really was.
Yeah, and he'll take the result. Declan's just moved chairs. I'm not sure why.
He was sat in the wrong seat, I think.
All right, there you go.
I'm not sure if he got confused or he did that so he wasn't in the eye line, but it was more the confusion. Another good pot from Dom, and
he's just come round to have a look at the shot I was talking about of 8 ball off red. We have to pot the yellow first.
And following this miss, it's a much better chance for Declan. Everything now in the open and goes.
And the balls are like this. Personal preference, really, but you still have to take the balls in the right order in terms of it's all about planning the route backwards from the 8 ball, so you leave yourself the easiest shot possible to get on the 8 ball. And you see Declan just keeps shake of the head, keeps coming a little bit funny on almost every single shot. You're gonna have to screw this off the side cushion now. Well, no, he's not. He's just dabbed it in.
Yeah, it's all been about keeping the red over right centre for your last ball.
No, that was my point. He left himself a shot to play. When he started this visit, there should have been no shot to play in terms of the cue ball's 4 to 6 inches behind every ball, but gets the cue ball where he wants it in the end, so that's all that matters.
Another frame on the board for Declan. He'll be breaking off next. 2-1 in front. 6:33 left on the clock. But it continues to run while the balls are being racked. That's until the final 5 minutes. Declan.
Yeah, such a good cueist, Declan, as well. You know, he really strikes the ball sweet. Really good timing. He has moved his hand closer to the cue ball. I don't know if that's something he's intentionally done or something that it's creeped in, but he's definitely now got his bridge hand closer to the cue ball. I can only presume he's purposely done it to gain a little bit of control with the cue ball, but hits the ball very, very sweetly.
Yeah, snooker background. Actually not been in a pool wad that long.
Centre cue ball again. Had success with it before. Ooh. His heart would have been in his mouth when he saw the cue ball come back off the pack, because this looked like for all the world it was in. And even if it doesn't go in direct, when it's so close, you always run the risk of it being kicked in by another ball. So he'll be over the moon to see the cue ball still on the table, and these yellows are nice.
He'll be happy now.
Yeah, he has one problem ball, but again, whenever you have a problem ball and you have the perfect kicker ball into it like he has here over this left centre, this is impossible for him not to cannon this bad ball out.
Just about okay. As we go into the final 5 minutes, 15 seconds a shot.
Yeah, it's better than it looks. The one that's underneath the red does pass into the right corner, so he doesn't have to nudge anything again, he just has to put the cue ball exactly there. Purposely left this yellow over this bottom right corner, so he could just leave the cue ball if needed in bulk like this, and this offers the perfect position for the 8 ball. So all along was always leaving this ball.
Break clearance from Declan, 2 clear, 3:31 left on the clock. Very strong position for Declan. Trying to ask a big question of John McAllister. Been a fascinating group tonight. Could well be some more twists and turns along the way, but this is what we have for you next week. Rob Warne, Hitan Patel, snooker player Joe O'Connor back in the pool world, and Lewis Roberts. Another good lineup for us, and another lineup that's really tough to call.
I was just going to say, pick a winner from that one.
Yeah, it's been something we talked about all competition along with Stephen Jameson and myself, is that the change of dynamic, having the pros now expanded to 96 and having qualifying through to this, means every group is stacked. Long way back here for Dom. Has to win, remember, so 3 frames in the next 3 minutes 31. And he's going to get a chance here.
Declan was
he
out
was.
of the blocks. Towel was down and he was half up. But once again, he has a little bit of work to do.
Red ball's in play.
Plays the cannon nicely, exactly as played. You just get the feeling that nothing is coming easy at the minute for Declan, is it? He's going to have to sweat it out again, providing Dom gets this finish, that is. He's played a good shot here. If Dom's dry there, then it's match over. Declan doesn't even have to clear the balls, really. If he gets down to potting a few, it would have been match over time-wise. As it is, it's game on. There's going to be around 2 minutes left.
Yeah, just over the 2 minute mark. A lot can still happen here. Declan Brennan breaks dry. He'll be sweating it out in his chair for sure. Dom needs to win, so he has to win 2 frames from here. Declan, oh, he could still make it through with a draw, but in his own mind he thinks he has to win as well. If he makes a ball, he can control the pace of the next frame, whether it's a good chance for a clearance or not. So a lot hinges on the next break.
Yeah, 2 minutes is real twitchy time left, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, 1 minute 30, it changes things actually quite a lot.
6-3.
Because if he breaks and makes a ball but doesn't have an easy opener, still loads of time for Dom, and you're worried about pushing one safe, so needs a ball and would love an easy layout. gets a ball. Cue ball nearly gets kicked in. Does get kicked
wow.
in. Oh my God, wow.
Oh, feel Declan Brennan's pain. And look at this for a layout. He's got one problem at the bottom of the table.
He's got one problem on both colour suits, isn't he?
He'll want to do this quickly enough to give himself a chance of a break clearance if it went to the decider. But how about this? Oh, it's horrible. Okay, could argue that he could have gone in off at the top of the table, but...
Well, I think Dom's took the wrong colours.
Be a very relieved Declan Brennan coming to the table right now. That should be the match. He can control the pace of this from here. Now there's a minute left on the clock. 5 balls in the open. You don't have to do anything more than pot those on the beeps.
Yeah, ball in hand. Yellows with the balls. One thing I will say though is it's easy sitting here when you have the luxury of looking at a screen and an overhead camera and all the different great camera angles that you get. When you're out there, you just get whatever you see, and in that time of 15 seconds, sometimes it's not a lot.
Yeah, and sometimes your instinct says reds to you, and you have to go reds because that's what you've gone for. As Dom says, enough is enough. And he steps forward, shakes hands. Declan Brennan has done all he can. 2 wins and a draw. He's going to ask a question of John McAllister. Can he respond? He needs to win in the final match